Well, 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 has Keir Starmer's Chancellor Rachel Reeves lied yet again? Well, she's already facing renewed scrutiny over the accuracy of her online CV, isn't she? As well as her use of expenses while working at Halifax Bank of Scotland in the noughties. And today, we see her caught up in yet another lie. Hi, this is Emily Carver, and you're watching GBN Originals. So the latest development in the ongoing controversy surrounding Chancellor Rachel Reeves has brought to light another discrepancy in her professional history, let's say. This time, it involves a claim about her academic publications. Yes, Rachel Reeves' entry in Who's Who, the UK's most prestigious biographical directory, states that she contributed to the Journal of Political Economy. However, it's now been revealed that she actually wrote for the European Journal of Political Economy. Now, this distinction is actually quite significant because experts have likened the difference between these publications to that between Oxford University and Oxford Brookes, a former polytechnic. Now, this revelation adds to the growing list of inaccuracies in Reeves' professional history: the misrepresentation of her publication in a less prestigious journal, and her Who's Who entry still incorrectly states she worked at the Bank of England until 2009, when in fact it turns out she left in 2006 after only 5.5 years. She said she'd been there for about a decade. Now, to understand the gravity of these discrepancies, it's important to note the significance of Who's Who. It's been published annually since 1849. The current edition includes more than 33,000 biographies of prominent figures. It's considered the UK's most prominent work of biographical reference. Inclusion in this Who's Who is seen as prestigious, with Paul Levi stating in the Wall Street Journal that it really puts the stamp of eminence on a modern British life. So back in 2021, Rachel Reeves was forced to apologise for an error in her Who's Who entry, which claimed she'd worked at the Bank of England for 2 years longer than she actually had. Did she just forget? Well, at the time, this was brushed off as a simple mistake, but now we're seeing a pattern emerging, aren't we? Previously, Reeves and two colleagues were the subject of an expenses probe while she was a senior manager at HBOS. A whistleblower submitted a 6-page complaint, accompanied by dozens of pages of evidence, including receipts alleging that Reeves and her colleagues were using company expense accounts to fund a lifestyle, including lavish dinners and taxis. Ever the socialist. But it doesn't stop there, does it? The receipts show that Reeves even purchased earrings for her PA, Linta Barraclough. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never heard of a company expense account being used for jewellery shopping. An internal audit in April 2009 reportedly found there was a case to answer. The following month, Reeves and her boss left the bank, while the third manager was on sick leave and didn't return. It's worth noting that a spokesperson for Reeves has stated she was not aware of an investigation, nor was she interviewed, and she did not face any disciplinary action on this or any other matters. But let's be clear, this isn't just about expenses.
Us blokes hate talking about a little thinning up top, and many of us settle with that balding look, but that wasn't for me, and that's why I went to Elite Hair, the world's leading hair loss clinic, and now I've had over 4,000 new hairs added to this barnet, and very soon I'm going to be rocking some brand new flowing locks. And you can too! So how does it work? Step 1, I sent the team a set of photos of my head. Step 2, I then spoke to one of the Elite Hair staff who looked through my photo submissions and worked out a treatment plan for me. Step 3, Elite Hair then organised accommodation and the treatment. I was at their state-of-the-art treatment centre in Istanbul, and their incredibly kind staff took me through the process, and before I knew it, I was in surgery. Elite Hair and their leading medical experts have specialised in pain-free treatments using the sleep deep method, and they really mean that. I felt incredibly relaxed the whole time, and I haven't felt any pain since. Check out Elite Hair using the link in the description. When you do, Elite Hair will provide you with a free personalised hair analysis. Then you'll join over 100,000 happy patients. Hit that link and start your hair growth journey like I did today.
This is about integrity, honesty, and about whether we can trust the person who's in charge of our nation's finances. Now, Labour, of course, has been quick to defend their Chancellor. Peter Kyle, the Secretary of State for Science, well, he appeared on GB News to address these allegations. When pressed about the seriousness of the situation, Kyle attempted to downplay the issues, stating that the person who was Director of HR for HBOS at the time said no file passed her desk and there was no investigation. But here's where it gets interesting. Carl then went on to say, and I quote, "On the CV thing, she's apologised. Someone who works for her did her account on LinkedIn." Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't a person's CV their own responsibility? Especially when you're in a position as high profile as the Chancellor of the Exchequer. But of course, she tries to blame someone else. Well, Carl then tried to shift the focus, saying, look at what we're talking about. We have someone who is a trained economist, who worked as an economist, bringing that experience into government. That's precisely the point, isn't it? If we can't trust the details of her experience, how can we trust her to manage the whole economy? Her job requires trust, it requires integrity, It requires someone who's at the top of their game. If she's willing to embellish her CV, indeed if she needs to embellish her CV, what else might she be willing to misrepresent? Well, while the spotlight is very much on Rachel Reeves and Labour is busy defending her, it's emerged today that the Labour Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, has also been accused of embellishing his CV. It turns out he's updated his LinkedIn, that's his online CV, work history, from solicitor to trainee solicitor. Quite the difference. He's updated his website as well, so it no longer says he worked as a solicitor. So it would appear that Jonathan Reynolds has been taking a leaf out of Rachel Reeves' book, and he'd written that he was a solicitor, when actually it turned out that he was no such thing, was actually a trainee. When you're in a position of power, when you're responsible for shaping the policies that affect millions of lives, surely a bit of integrity is paramount. Whether it's about your work history, your educational background, the public deserves the truth. But what we're seeing here is a pattern behaviour from Labour's top brass. Is this really the kind of leadership we want for our country? They're asking us to believe that they can manage our economy, they can lead our country forward, they can make our lives better. How can we trust them if they can't even be honest about their own backgrounds? Is it any wonder that the budget has gone down like a lead balloon? Now, when we go to the polls, we're not just voting for policies or party colours, we're voting for people, aren't we? We're putting our trust in individuals to represent us, to make decisions, to lead the country. And if those individuals can't be honest about something as basic as their work history or their education, how can we trust them with the big decisions? It's about fundamental principles, isn't it, that underpin our democracy: transparency, accountability, trust. And what do you make of it? Is this just a trivial matter? Does everyone embellish their CV, or is this actually quite important? Does it make you second guess the qualifications that the people at the very top making the biggest decisions of our country actually have? This has been Emily Carver for GB News. Thank you for watching.
Governments should be able to be trusted, whichever colour they are. This isn't about left or right. This is about right or wrong. It is wrong to lie to get a job in any circumstances. And people will sometimes say, it's just a little lie. It's just a white lie. A lie is a lie. We shouldn't be able to lie, especially when we're in some of the most senior roles in our country, when we're putting our trust in those people. And even more so when it was a party who said that trust had been lost in the Tories and they were going to have a clear out and they were going to bring a new type of politics.
OK, let's throw that over to Kelly Tucker.
I do hear what's being said there. However, I think there's a difference between a lie and exaggerating the truth. Rachel Reeves, she did hold that position, not as long as she has made believe. And she has since updated her CV to reflect the accurate date. So I think it's a stretch too far to say that that's a sackable offence. I think we should be being honest. And yes, our CV should reflect the truth. But I think there is a difference between lying and exaggerating the truth.
OK, Mike, do you see the difference there?
Absolutely not. A stretching of the truth is a lie. An exaggerating of the truth is a lie. I mean, the reality is it's not the truth. And when you go to court and you put your hand on that Bible, what do they ask you to say? I swear to tell the whole truth, not just some truth, not an exaggeration of the truth, not a stretched version of the truth. And the minute we allow people to go into shades of grey, I'm sorry, which shade of grey is then acceptable?
Kelly, we give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
I hear that. I do believe, though, that there are many people out there who would have exaggerated on their CVs trying to, put themselves across in the best way possible to secure roles. I think we also have to question, does that lie or exaggeration of the truth affect their ability to perform the role? I think we use the CV as part of that recruitment process, but I think it is a part of it, and it's not something that we should be holding on to determine whether someone once in a position should stay in that position or not. If she's performing well in the role, why would we not leave her in that role despite the fact she did exaggerate the dates of her employment on her CV?
Mike, is there a difference between Rachel Reeves and Jonathan Reynolds here? So Jonathan Reynolds, he's accused of saying he's a solicitor when actually he hadn't fully qualified. So he's had to change that. Rachel Reeves is more about the timings of things and whether she was really an economist or whether it was a bit more of a lowly job that she had at one of these banks.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about someone who wants to be a barista in Starbucks here. We're talking about the top of our government, okay? And also, to me, it's back to the minute we allow any shade of grey, there is no limit to how far they will stretch this. Rachel Reeves, Jonathan Reynolds, they pariahed the last government, as they should have when things weren't true, and then they go and lie themselves. Why did they lie? I'd look beyond it. But also, the minute you find out someone lies a little bit, can you trust them ever?
Kelly, is there
it's trust. Trust is where we know they are honest or they are dishonest. And it's not someone at a very low level job or a menial task. This is running our country.